What's poppin', y'all? As much as it pains me to make a video about this, on my GOAT, on actually the GOAT, if we're being fair here, Lil Wayne, I must call him out on his fraudulent statements. And what fraudulent statement is that, you might ask? Him pretending to not know that Jay-Z and Kanye West ever did an album called Watch the Throne. This is an absolute joke, man. So in an interview, it says here, later in the evening, I referenced Jay-Z and Kanye West's Watch the Throne. What's that? He asks, staring at another Sports Center replay. Kanye and Jay-Z's album. They did an album, and at this point in time, people are really trying to... What's funny is that people will usually... Lil Wayne got more criticism for not knowing who Kodak Black was and for not knowing who 21 Savage is, and people not believing that, which I genuinely believed. It made perfect sense that he wouldn't know who those guys were at the time. But now, when he says he doesn't know that Watch the Throne was an album that Ye and Jay did, everyone's like, yeah, you know, Wayne was just fried. He's just in his own world. He was on a bunch of drugs. No. We're not doing that. Now, like I said before, I've said, how do you expect Lil Wayne to know about 21 Savage? And this is when 21 Savage was just blowing up, like when X was taken off with Future. At that point, people that didn't even really know hip-hop wouldn't know about that. And especially somebody like Lil Wayne, who is basically really only into sports. He doesn't follow hip-hop too much. And then you can also take into consideration the fact that Kodak Black was I wouldn't call Kodak Black a SoundCloud rapper, but SoundCloud era, like people that were fans of SoundCloud were also fans of Kodak. And of course, like people from the streets were fans of Kodak as well. But Kodak wasn't really that big at that time, and they had a back and forth about it. Well, Kodak just went in on Lil Wayne. But the reason why I say you don't believe this nonsense, and I gotta call Lil Wayne out, and I think maybe he's playing into this now, although I'm not too sure, but let's just go back to when Watch the Throne dropped. Watch the Throne dropped August 8th of 2011. Keep in mind, August 8th, 2011. Do you know what was going on that same month? Lil Wayne dropped The Carter 4 later that August. I don't know if it was August 8th exactly. I'm just whipping out. I looked it up before. But hey, the date doesn't matter too much when it comes to the album by Watch the Throne. So this was already gearing up to release for quite a while. Lil Wayne sold 960,000 copies first week with the Carter 4. It was the Carter 3 a couple of years prior that did about 1 million first week. 6 Foot 7 Foot was the lead single, and also Lil Wayne was remixing a ton of these songs at the time. But in an interview with Drake, that I forgot the platform that did it exactly, but they were performing at Summer Jam on June 5th, 2011. It was Lil Wayne performing at Summer Jam, and also after he had served a period of time in Rikers Island and got locked up for gun charges in New York. But it says here, Drake recently revealed that his long speculated about collaboration album with Lil Wayne had been shelved indefinitely, and that he would instead pursue a mixtape project with Rick Ross. Funny that never panned out either, although we did get a ton of Rick Ross Drake singles, and I don't think we're gonna see them work together anytime soon. Like, that's dead. But keep in mind, this is like 2011, a Rick Ross and Drake tape back then. Even a Rick Ross Drake tape in 2017 would have been wild. But this isn't about Rick Ross and Drake. I get excited about these things, so I want to go on this tangent because I want to talk about Rick Ross and Drake, but we won't. For all you fools, they're like, stay on topic. Listen, I usually won't listen to you, but for this video I will. Explaining why he and Weezy decided to scrap their album, Drake said the shadow of Jay-Z's and Kanye West's own blockbuster collab from this year was just too long. Me and Wayne scrapped the idea of a collaboration album, he told XXL. We just agreed that it would be looked upon as it would be sort of this competition with Watch the Throne. Which is facts. I feel like it would get caught in this whirlwind of hype. Wayne agreed. We just said, if we do it, we'll do it down the line. But right now is not the time. As far as the Ross mixtape goes, Drizzy said he doesn't have a release date for it and wants to drop it with little fanfare. To be honest, it's just something I really wanted to pop up out of nowhere. I'm not going to release no single or anything. It's something I want to do because I enjoy working with Ross. So here is Drake, who was working closely with Wayne, telling everybody that him and Wayne decided not to do it because of it would basically just be compared to Jay-Z and Ye's Watch the Throne. And it's hard to describe to maybe like new age fans the level of what a blockbuster moment Watch the Throne was. It was an unimaginable level of, like, think of the hype of Drake versus Kendrick Lamar, but it was anticipation and love for a project with a collaboration and a storyline behind it as well. It would have been because, and it's mentor mentee, because Kanye was a producer for Jay-Z. He was on The Rock. And then Kanye becomes his own solo mega act, and Jay's also huge. And then they come together for a project, and the project is fire. I think it was Otis. I don't remember if Otis was the first single, but I remember hearing the sample to Otis. I was like, man, this is a magical time. I remember Ham coming out. It's just, oh, man, I wish I could go back to that time just to experience it for a day. The anticipation was unbelievable, and then when it dropped, it was even crazier. The tour was even wilder, them performing Paris like 12 or 15 times in Paris. I think they were the original ones that started the whole, like, perform this song 20 times in a row, which Travis Scott has adopted, which, let's keep it a buck, Ye did say this recently out of hate and malice, but Travis Scott is a diet Ye. It's just a lot less depth to Travis than there has been with Ye, and a lot less, maybe, I wouldn't necessarily say character development, but Travis Scott's a more corporatized packaging than Ye ever was, which, no knock to Travis Scott. Still enjoy that guy's music a lot. But this didn't end because in 2014, Drake and Lil Wayne went on tour together. And this was for Nothing Was the Same and the Carter 4. And it was a shorter tour from, well, depends what you consider short. It was like a month and a half, 31 shows. And it was based on the Street Fighter concept, and they would each perform their own songs. This was in 2014, so it was a couple of years after that point in time, and they could have dropped an album here, but they didn't. And I don't know if it was fear. I don't know if it was the fact that, like, Nothing Was the Same was such a huge success. Nothing Was the Same success lasted until Views. It was like 3 years. Of course, Drake was popping in songs here and there. He did the Future album. So yeah, people that think the album with Future was such a big moment with Drake and Future, it pales. It's significantly pales in comparison to what Watch the Throne was. So for Lil Wayne, who was at his peak in the game at that time, now some people say quality-wise, commercially, he was at his peak in the game, and he's not going to know about Jay and Ye, people that he's worked with, people that he's been rivals of. Like, Jay was a rival of Wayne's for quite a while. Birdman had even had certain clips where he's like, oh, how's Jay-Z number one when he didn't sell the most records? Now, people will credit academics to the whole sales conversation, but Birdman was saying it right there. He's like, yo, Jay ain't selling mill first week. How you gonna be the best when you ain't sell the most records? So Lil Wayne was always into it with Jay-Z. And then there was Death of Autotune by Jay-Z on the Blueprint 2, I think. That's one of my favorite Jay-Z projects. So it would be a shame if I cited the wrong project for that one live. But I will not cut it out in the edit. So that's how you know I'm honest about this. If I were to attempt to give some grace to Lil Wayne in this situation, you could just say he was so fried beyond belief that he has memory loss and he doesn't remember exactly what was going on during that time. Because if Lil Wayne forgets his own lyrics to some of his bigger songs, then who's to say that he doesn't forget that this album released? So maybe this is why in an interview scenario like this, we need someone that's really, really hip-hop that's going to push back, and not just push back in a pressing way, but just elaborate on these questions. Like, for example, he says, they did an album? This was a non-hip-hop journalist, reporter type of response, or that followed up with this. They just moved over and went to the next question. But if someone's like, yeah, you don't remember? You and Drake were working together on a project. And then he might say, we were working together on a project? And then at that point, you're like, yo, are you fried? Like, what was going on in your life at the time? You can turn it into a different conversation. But this way we can get a full 360 view, bird's eye view of Lil Wayne's brain if he's just capping about this. Because Lil Wayne doesn't seem like the type of guy to just do something because he thinks it's cool, especially for social media, considering he doesn't really frequent social media. But I just can't, 100% do not believe that Lil Wayne existed during Watch the Throne and did not know about it during that period of time. Now, if there's a possibility maybe he doesn't know about it now or forgot about it, but that would have to be because of drugs or something that's going on. And if that's the case, then yeah, he seriously needs some health or some help with health if he cares. Obviously, sometimes you just can't help certain people. But that's how I think about the situation. Listen, Lil Wayne is my GOAT. Will I turn on Lil Wayne instead of Jay-Z? Yeah, probably. 6 times out of 10. It's close. It's a close call right there. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. I'm going to see you in the next one. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Go to helloyassine.com. Thank you for watching. Peace.